The Spanish seems to be the theme of the tournament, the opening of the tournament so far, the Roy Lopez, the Spanish opening. And, okay, which variation will Caruana choose for? It's the Archangel, the Archangelsk variation. And Magnus, he showed some preparation against this. He's faced it a few times in recent history.
Had it yesterday against the Min, didn't he? Yeah. So, yeah, I think. And he got a very good position there, didn't he, David, in that one, I think? So,
yeah, he faced it at the World Cup too. I remember kind of a mammoth battle in this one, as kind of between these two warriors at Isle of Man a few years back with colours reversed, when it was actually Magnus employing this opening against Fabi. So mind games, they're kind of going down this well-trodden path where, of course, there's so much theory. But definitely Magnus in recent years, he's kind of steering into that, despite the fact that kind of traditionally it's Fabiano with the opening kind of knowledge, the opening expert. Interesting moment here. White has various ways to play. Magnus, the first one to think, first one to blink.
Yeah, this bishop c5 move that we see Fabiano play, the Archangel variation, is probably one of the sharpest variations of Roy Lopez, because black is trying to develop that dark square bishop to a very active square. But it does come with downsides, because you can walk into a pin. That knight on the king side can often be pinned. We saw that happening yesterday, Magnus beating our Min with that idea. And this is another idea with the dark square bishops facing off against each other, which can also be dangerous. At the right moment, white can push the pawn in the center and make a favorable exchange of bishops here. So it's a really quite, I don't know, courageous way to play, but it is very heavily theoretical, isn't it, this line? Because both sides can get in trouble very quickly if they don't know what they're doing. Rook e8, first think is Magnus.
And Magnus trying to figure out his middle game approach here. And don't be fooled, because there are always tactics here. It might look like the e4 pawn is under fire, but white's got ideas of his own with that light squared bishop. Magnus places his own rook in the center. It's going to be a slow strategic fight. Meanwhile, we have got kickoff, which is about to happen in the West.
Here, we should mention, maybe we just... Wow, I was about to say, let's jump in and do a quick action replay of what's happened, but suddenly I'm noticing Magnus's clock down at 5 minutes against almost 13.5 minutes. So maybe Magnus has walked into Fabiano Caruana's preparation. Not the first time anyone's done that. Fabi famous for that, of course, but now Magnus putting his knight on the rim. I was going to say as well in the other game, Faruja with those two black knights on a6 and h6 didn't make a great impression. Now white's knight slightly sidelined. I do fear for Magnus, despite the fact he's still got control. White's queen nicely centralized. Instincts here. Simon Jovanka, who would you pick and why?
I mean, I guess positionally white seems to be doing pretty well, because white's got a nice queen in the center, got some holes on the queen side, so white's pressure on the center on the queen side, but black has this beautiful knight hanging around white's king, and that's a real nuisance. And also this move h3, this is a real target. The bishop of Fabiano's is pointing at that pawn.
You're looking at what I'm looking at, Simon.
Well, I'm definitely thinking about taking that and getting the rook around. I mean, if black could ever get the queen into the king side, the attack would be tremendous here. But fortunately, white's knight stops Fabiano's queen ever coming in. But there's potential here, maybe. Some move like this looks... Yeah. It's definitely setting up. Bishop takes h3 now. If black gets one more move, black will be have a winning attack here with that idea.
Yeah, just to show this, Simon, bishop takes h3 would be a killer. Checkmate would be incoming queen and knight, the dream attacking combo. Sorry, Jovanka, go on. How do you see a defense here?
Yeah, I was going to say play becomes very concrete because of this threat. And I feel that the only way to handle this is you need to get rid of this knight on f4 by Magnus playing my move before I get to show it. Queen e3.
Wow, and g5, he's really committing. He's cementing this knight on f4, this really strong attacking piece, but it's come at the cost of black's king safety. If a white knight ever ends up on this side of the board near the black king, that could be devastating. But still in the air, bishop takes pawn. Really interesting stuff.
I mean, maybe you can go knight d4 now. Maybe this is Magnus's clever idea. And we saw again a bit of shades of yesterday. The way he won against Amin yesterday was Amin played this move g5, and Magnus managed to get his knight into the square next to that pawn, the f5 square, and he's done it again. This also stops the sacrifice, because the queens will come off, and obviously
Of checks to be given, but the last move, Jovanka, I think it hints at the king stepping up to g2, which might be the safe square, and we might be seeing Simon's move rook a3 next.
I totally agree. But Tanya, I have to hold you up on one comment. It's not all about the extra pawn. It's always about the extra material.
Doesn't hurt.
It must be horrible to be like playing Magnus in a position like this, because okay, you're getting attacked, and normally you'd be like, okay, I'll get the queens off. Yeah, I might be a pawn down the ending, but you know, I'll have a way to grovel the draw. But you know, if you go pawn down the ending against Magnus, you're just going to lose. So you can't even try to get the queens off. So you've got to try some move like this to try and just complicate things. But now, if White can just get his rook in, and there's a couple of ways I feel he can do this. Rook c1 looks very simple to me. It must be coming to the end, right?
And just look how accurate Magnus was, you know, giving a check, defending the pawn on f2 with tempo, and now the rook on a1 can get greedy, as Simon indicated.
Get greedy, yeah.
Yeah, Simon was looking to slide it across. I knew Jovanka would want to grab that pawn. Yeah. Now you're 2 pawns up. Woo!
Always grabbing the extra pawn. So.
Yeah, now I agree, Jovanka. Material really counts in this one. You've got these 2 extra pawns, and they're going to roll down the board at some point. But we might still be seeing the checkmate happen first before the pawns count in this one. It's really not a great option for Black to trade. He can give a check on e1 and then give a check with the queen on e4. But Magnus might just put the king on h2 and even... Or does that run into queen h8, queen h1? There is a trap we should show right now.
Yeah, Magnus avoided the trap. Okay, maybe we'll show it in a bit. But, okay, queens are off. He didn't bring his king to the h-file where it would have been checked by the black queen on h8, and that would have been disastrous.
A checkmate, David.
Checkmate.
I love the way they've gone straight into this ending now. It's like literally they're following the script. They're like, okay, yeah, I'm going to try to grovel the draw in the ending, but Magnus is not going to draw this one.
Magnus doesn't look too stressed out right now, looks pretty calm. 2 connected pass pawns are always better than 1 solo pawn running.
It's like there's magic when Magnus plays. What happened to that 7-minute lead that Fabi had? He's not only down in the position, suddenly a big turnaround, but also just 30 seconds on the clock. And I agree. I think the move of this game has to be knight b7. All the action is on one side of the board, and then suddenly on the queen side, you make this tactical move, not aimed at checkmate, but simply trading Black's most important piece, and that seemed to be the decisive move of the game.
Yeah, Fabiano simply couldn't recover, and what Magnus is doing now is just really kind of instructive. He's just stopping any potential counterplay on the queen side. The white king is able to kind of dart across if it needs to stop Black's pawns advancing, and you don't need to rush. That's the key in these types of endgames. White's f and g pawns, the 2 connected pass pawns on the king side, will start moving forward, but only when Magnus is ready. And okay, this b pawn will be hunted, but it's only going to be a trade. And this is actually pretty much identical to an endgame they had in their World Championship tiebreaks, when Magnus there also had 2 connected pass pawns running. Fabiano had 1 solo pawn, but rook behind that pawn. And now it's just one-way traffic. White will finally have a free hand to start pushing.
Yeah, looks bad, yeah.
Yeah. But how easy is it to convert these positions with these 2 extra pawns?
If you're Magnus, very easy.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right?
If you're Simon, not so easy. So,
I think this one is quite easy, because the aim of the game is just move the king, and the king is the one that's going to support the advance of those pawns. And the only thing that you have to be very careful of is when the black pawn gets to b2, the white king has to have some shelter.
Yeah. And right now, if the black pawn was to get to a b2, white can come back with the rook to e2 and just make sure that black's rook stays tight, defending that pawn. Could be a good moment to think about start pushing the g pawn, or does he need to be a little careful? He decides to first bring back the rook. Wants to put the rook behind the b pawn.
Yep. He's tying down the black rook, making the black rook passive here.
You used a similar defense against Hikaru Nakamura, didn't you, at Gibraltar? It was a different position, but where you defend the pawn from the side. I think I was commentating on that one, maybe with Ivanka actually. And, was that right?
Yeah, we were commenting.
Yeah.
But it was, in those days, the commentary abandoned for dinner time. But actually, it was really to set up a masterclass. So we were all watching David play Hikaru at dinner time.
And it ended in a draw, David.
It did.
Very dramatic.
What was the name of the defense?
Vancouver.
It's the Lucy.
The Vancouver position. You're right, Ivanka. For anyone interested at home, check out that game from the Gibraltar Masters 2000 a long time ago. Yeah, it's the Vancouver position. If you're interested, it's against the A or H pawns. And here, it's a bit different. Magnus is simply making a new queen.
It's over.
Yeah.
Fabiano Caruana resigns and Magnus Carlsen